this is the Bolt interface. Starts with basically the same prompt box that you have for ChatGPT. What is like a simple app that someone wants me to make? Anyone?
E-commerce site.
E-commerce site for what?
Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies. Okay, so first tip, this is the enhanced prompt button. So if you have something super simple, you can basically ask AI to expand upon it. Okay, so how easy was that? I'm not going to read through this, and hopefully it doesn't take a long time to make. But I'm just going to click make it, and it will start writing code. So here is the preview pane where once something's created, you can see how it actually looks, like what's the user interface. In the meantime, you can also click the code interface, and we can see it writing code. If you want to, for instance, modify the code, you can just prompt it to modify the code. Or if you know a little bit about like HTML or React or whatever code it's using, you can actually go in and make a change. So for instance, this is like an image that it is taking from. If you knew what the file path was for a different image you wanted to make, you could literally just modify it, and then once this is kind of done running, there'll be a save button over here. You save it, and it automatically updates your preview pane. So while we let this run, I'm going to go through a few suggested settings for Bolt. So first, if you kind of go to this left-hand pop-out, and you go into settings, I first recommend that you click show token usage in chat, because that'll let you know how many tokens you have left. And also you can see from, like, I have 130 million tokens. Once this is done, it'll go down to like maybe 129. And you can see kind of what you've prompted and what it's done and how many tokens it uses. So you can kind of learn what is a big task and what is a small task. When you have a paid plan, which you all should have by the time we actually get coding, you can go into future previews, and I recommend you turn on dynamic reasoning. What does that do? If you have a super simple request, like make this button red, it won't think for that long, and it'll just execute. If you have a very complex task, like if I had put in, or like what we're doing now, right? I gave it almost like a mini product requirement document for what I wanted the e-commerce site to look like, and it's still going, then it will think more before it executes. So it's dynamic. So I definitely recommend you starting with that. After you have a substantial code base, you can do one or the other. You can turn on diffs, which means you have to turn off dynamic reasoning. Diffs basically means, with dynamic reasoning, if I wanted to change a button and make it red, for instance, it might rewrite an entire file just to do that. With diffs, it would just rewrite that one line of code that had the color in it. But do not turn on diffs until you have a substantial code base, because otherwise there's nothing for it to modify. That has definitely been something that's happened to a few people at other workshops I've done in the past. So again, for this event, I think just keep on dynamic reasoning unless you have already worked with diffs in the past, but just kind of letting you know in the future how you can use this, because it definitely is more efficient once you have a fairly big app. It makes it so that stuff doesn't break and you are only modifying certain lines of code. Knowledge, so you can create basically prompts that you want it to always execute, either for a specific project or for kind of every project you write. For instance, these are some of the ones that I added. You don't need to worry about it for kind of the first time, but something like don't expose API keys in the code, store them in a .env file. Go search expose API keys on X or something like that and see the chaos that happens when someone basically uses your OpenAI account for free. But again, for this, you don't have to worry about it, especially if you're not like sharing your websites outside of this. But again, just to let you know the capabilities of the tool. And then the last one is you'll have a list of backups. There are no backups because it's not done coding yet. Yeah, I think next time I'm not going to use the discussion or the enhanced prompt function because this always happens. So what's going to happen is I will go to an existing project. So once you have an existing project, for instance, Devil's Advocate Chatbot is something that I walk people through how to build in one of the workshops I'm doing next week. We can open this up. It'll just quickly import the files that have already been created. And here you can see in this example, what it'll look like on the website. So you put in some opinion. Anyone? What's an opinion?
Are tariffs good for the economy?
Tariffs are good for the economy. Okay. Now I got to switch this to. So let's do intense and just one round of debate. Tariffs are not good. They assume tariffs protect domestic industries, believe that tariffs safeguard jobs. Anyway, this is connected to OpenAI to basically generate these responses. But what you can do, if I wanted to modify something, like let's say I want to make the challenge intensity button green. So it's rewriting this file specifically, which has that, and now it's green. If I, for instance, wanted to change it back to red, one other option you have is you can use this inspector tool up in the upper right-hand corner. And I could click on it specifically, and I say, make this button red again. Okay, we're back to it. So use it how you want to. The inspector kind of tells it basically what line of code and file to modify. Let's say I had a bug and it didn't turn it back to red. What you can do is before you say try again, you can use this discuss function, which is basically like talking to ChatGPT. It doesn't execute anything. It more gives you information. So I can say, why didn't the button turn red again? Okay, so it says, it didn't update the code in this file. Here's the plan. I think it did turn it red. You probably are just not seeing that it's red because you need to update your browser cache or something like that. And then it has a plan, and you can say either, sometimes, like this doesn't have something to execute, but oftentimes you'll get another button here that says execute this plan, and it'll execute what you already discussed. Or it says something like open this file. So I can click that, and it goes to the file, and you can use, for instance, the search function to say, like moderate, right, was the name of the button. So this is the file, because I already know it says it's in the challenge level selector file. Click on there, and you can see it's highlighted. Yeah, down here. So it'll bring you to approximately like the line where that search term is. So those are kind of the main ways that you can use Bolt. Also, feel free to use other AI tools outside of Bolt. For instance, we'll go in this in some of the tips. We'll see if this is done coding yet. Okay, great. Create a problem. And so what happens when you encounter an error? You can show what the problem is. Terminal error, that really tells me nothing. I could discuss and say, tell me more. Or I can just say, it already thinks it knows what a fix is, so I'm going to ask it to attempt the fix. And we'll see what it does. Sometimes it fixes it, sometimes it doesn't. If you kind of try to fix it like 3 times in a row or 2 times in a row, I recommend either using the discussion function or taking like screenshots or copying and pasting the error messages into something else like ChatGPT to get a second opinion. Yeah, so you can see like creating that entire whatever it did took 200,000 tokens, right? And so with a paid account, you'll get 10 million tokens. You will not use that up today. I would like to talk to you if you did, because I'd be very curious. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. A couple tips. One, use Chrome. That's just what they recommend for using it. Just, I don't know, in terms of like refreshing cache and having bugs related to the browser. We already talked about dynamic reasoning, outside chat box. There are 2 different project paths that you can approach. One, start small and iterate. It's a little bit what we did, right? All we did is write 1 sentence, but then like use the enhance function. Or you can spend more time up front and create a more comprehensive prompt to maybe use like O2 or Claude 4 to brainstorm your idea. Yeah, a couple words of caution. Like I said, don't use diff until you have the substantial code base. If you get the same error multiple times, spend some more time either with discussion or like looking at the actual files or use an outside AI. For today, I definitely recommend avoiding any kind of authentication and like file storage capabilities, because then you have to use like one of the native connections with Supabase, which is kind of like a backend for your app. If you know how to do that, great. If you want to try it, also great. Just realize that you will probably get more errors and will spend more time developing what you want to do. I would suggest that as like something like a next step after you have the app working, and then you can worry about kind of creating users and authentication. And then I also, knowing from personal experience, I tried to make a web player for, so like some of the songs you heard before were actually my songs. It's like 80% AI, 20% me. So I tried making my own web player, which worked, but it took a long time and like a lot of errors. And then you'll have your vibe pods in order to kind of like learn together and bounce ideas off each other if something's not working. But if you get stumped, come find me. So over the next 2 hours, you'll be able to build your own app. Here are a couple of ideas of like things to think about if you don't already have an idea. One can be prototype a new idea that you want to maybe develop into a business, or it could just be a new feature for an existing product. You can do something as simple as like a landing page, or how do you generate leads. Could be an internal tool for your work to make your job easier. Could just be some kind of fun game project. Or one of my favorites, if you go to wecodewithai.org, there's a link to basically my YouTube channel where I show some of the apps that people have made in the past. One of my favorites is like this guy just was obsessed with to-do list apps and could never find the right one. And he would look at all the new ones that came out on the App Store, and then he just vibe coded it. And this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. So it can be like that too. All right, let's see. All right, there we go. So it fixed it. And this is our website from using 200,000 tokens and writing 1 sentence. first question, how many people have kind of engineering degrees or have coded for their job? Okay, come up here. Come stand up here. I saw Larry, just nudge him a little bit, and I need one. Wait, Larry, yeah? So you want to do it?
Actually,
do it.
I'll
Do it.
stay.
No. Okay, we'll try it with four people. Anyone else? Anyone? Okay. So vibe pods are basically a mixture of a support group and a social group. So I suggest that you work on your own projects. Well, it's a little complicated to share between projects. You can do it, but not something I think you should focus on tonight. So it's really like, at least at HBS and a lot of other MBA programs, like a learning team, right? You have 6 people that are really smart, that are going through the same learning process, and you can kind of use them as a sounding board and also learn from each other. So introduce yourselves, socialize a little, discuss project ideas, any issues that you have, and feel free to keep in touch on what you're building afterwards. So we'll do groups of 6. So can I have 5 volunteers that want to go with Matt? 1? Yeah, so stand, Matt, you want to stand over here? Just come, walk up. Benefit is you, as being the first group, you will get the corner office that has an amazing view of the sound. Okay. Sophia, you want to stand over there? Can I get 5 people to go with Sophia? Great. You can just take the next conference room. It kind of goes in the back. E? E. Okay. You want to stand over there? Can I get 5 people to go with E? So just go in the next conference room that's called Jarvis. Debug. Okay, and they have 5 people to go with debug, and you can go in also in Jarvis. Yeah, there'll be two groups in there.